Let's see if this stream has gone live. I hope it has. Looking good in terms of the actual thing. That's good for me. Welcome everybody, I hope you can hear me. I'm just gonna do one very quick check on my volume before we get going. Alright, now that's done, I can do a bit of sharing, copy the link, and then we will probably put this in announcements somewhere. Let's see. No. Alright, there you go. It's been put into chat. Actually, let's put it into announcements as well, because why not? I'm just putting a little thing in the chat room at the moment, in the announcements chat in the server. Get as many people in as possible. And then we'll get going proper. Alright. Just putting in the rest of this and then we will be good to go. I think that's everything. Alright. Hello. Proper. We started properly now. Welcome to season 7. Hey, I'm not abusing any of them, I get to do what I want now. Just going and putting the live chat up, and then we'll get going as we go along. Can I turn off background music? No. Specifically because you asked, Capel. I'm not turning it off. But yeah, welcome to everybody in the chat. We've got 15 drivers here today, looking to crown themselves essentially the winner of the race of champions. Bragging rights over essentially the entire server, if they can get this one right. Let's see who we've got in it today. Anything for you, Wack. But yeah, let's see who we got. So we got BX. Should be starting very soon. I think this. Let's have a look down the list. Who we got from Tier 1? Javi's driving from Tier 1. So BX, Javi, and Zico. Zico is the champion of Tier 1, so he's driving on behalf of Tier 1 this time. Let's have a look for Tier 2. Polito looks like, well, yeah, the champion for Tier 2. Polito is in the building as well. Nonima is the counterpart. That's a certain in this one. Go down. Tier 3. Let's have a look. We got Spin in there for Tier 3. Looks like we're just about to get started properly here. Don't forget, it's a reverse grid based on the tiers. So tier 5 will start at the front. The two lads from tier 5, Supercracker and Lord Hands, starting at the front of the grid, and then they go all the way back to tier 1 in the back of the shot. But it's 4, 5 red lights. It's lights out and away we go. Who's going to get the better start down into turn 1? It's not the chicane this time. There is no chicane. We are on Monza, no chicane. So it's the long right-hander that stops us into turn 1 before we go to the second of the chicanes. Well, normally second chicane. Matthew takes the lead in his Viper all the way down toward turn 1. And he's got CL in second, and that, I believe that's a Citroen. And we've got a couple of guys off track already, and that looks like Fracas. That might be Fracas behind. It is Fracas who's gone round already as we head into the first of the chicanes tonight. And it's not good news for Fracas in tier 4. Absolute awful start there for Fracas, and tier 4 is already off to a bad start. But Matthew, on the other hand, into the lead of the race in the Viper. Then you got Hennets from tier 3 in second, CL in third, Supercracker from tier 5 started on pole, is in 4th right now. Then you got BX from tier 1 all the way from the back of the grid up in the 5th already. Then you've got Orak in 6th, Lord Hans is 7th after a bad start from him. Ross in 8th, who was in tier 3 this season, getting promoted as he's champion tier 3. I think it was blue, yeah, tier 3 blue. And then you got Javi on the outside there from tier 1, who I believe was 3rd place from tier 1. Oh, that looks like someone's already off the track. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. That's Lord Hands off the track in the Alfa Romeo. Spin, Noniman not having great starts either. We continue on. Matthew's got an electric first lap. There's 36 laps to this race, and all 3 tyre compounds must be used because it can't rain at Monza. Which makes strategy a little bit interesting, I'll say that much, in this race. And Matthew still leads the pack, with CL trying to make a move on Henners right now. Henners, who came 2nd in the same tier as Ross last season. CL, the guy, I believe, who won tier 4 blue, is going to have to do a little bit of checking on that to make sure that I am aware of who was in what tier. I definitely haven't forgot. But it's lap 2. A little bit of things happened on that first lap. We'll get caught up to speed in a minute here. But as we go through, it looks like Matthews managed to get a couple of second gap already, which is a massive start for him. BX is the one that you're going to have to be worried about, though, because he is off to a flying start in his own right, up in a 4th already. Henners is his next overtake, which probably is going to happen down this next straight. It's actually not even going to wait to the straight. BX gets the inside of the second of the deck, and then get it perfectly right. And up in a 3rd, he goes straight away, and this just looks formidable off the start. Supercracker in 5th, Henners in 4th. CL is the next one for BX to overtake. They'll leave him with a clean shot at Matthew after that. Javi up in the 6th already. He got Orak on the last straight as well. Zico in 8th. Colin in 9th. Polito in 10th. The champion in tier 2. Not off to a great start against the champion from tier 3. And you got Lord's Hand in 11th. Spin in 12th. Fracas in 4th. Anonymous 13th for the penalty. Fracas in 14th, and Ross has got a second penalty. He's already at the back of the grid. So Ross has had an issue and a span on that last lap. Not entirely sure what caused it, but he did spin on that last lap, and now BX looks to take 2nd place. BX looks to take 2nd place here off of CL as they go down toward turn 1. Yeah, Le Mans came in clutch for BX. It got him into this race, and it looked like he's in pole position to win this from here. We'll go through everyone in a split second and just getting a little bit away from the carnage that's unfolded in the last couple of laps. BX not able to overtake that Citroen down into the first of the chicanes on this lap. Would expect him to get better exits as we go along, so that place shouldn't really be too difficult for him as we go past. Zico's got past Orak, so Orak down into 8th, now being chased by the champion of tier 3 white. Oh, and it looks like Orak may have made a mistake there. Polito around the outside, but he's boxed in as we go down into the second of the Lesmos. I believe that is in Monza, and he didn't get it right, so Polito gets boxed in, has to drop back. He's got a half second. Orak's got a half second. Collins should get them both. as Heel should get himself away into 8th. Habib got past Supercracker, he's now up into 5th. BX has got past CL, he's up into 2nd. We'll go through the tyres and what they're all on at the beginning of the next lap. Let's have a look. So the penalties now being served for Orac and for Polito should let Colin get a little bit of a gap. Then you've got Finn in 11th, Lord Hans in 12th, Anonymous 13th for a second penalty again. Fracas in 14th and then Ross in dead last. BX has already caught the 2-second gap all the way to the lead. So it's mediums for Matthew, softs for BX, which does explain how BX is catching up so very quickly. Then you got CL on the hards in 3rd, hards for Henners in 4th, Pavi on soft in 5th, so tier 1 both on the soft so far. Supercracker on the mediums, then it's hards for Zico, the tier 1 champion, hards for the tier 3 white champion Colin, hards for the tier 2 champion as well in Polito, Orac on hards, Spin on mediums, Lord Hands on hards, Anonymous on hards, Fracas on hards and Ross on the medium tyres. So let's just have a rundown of the grid as a whole. So from tier 1 we have BX, who might be about to take the lead of this race here into turn 4 and 5 now at Monza, given that we take away the first chicane on the lap. Normally the worst chicane you could probably have to as a turn 1. But yeah, so it's BX, Javi and Zico from tier 1. And then in tier 2 you've got Polito and you've got Anonymous, who are suffering at the back of the grid right now. BX looks to line up Matthew for the lead of the race, and he does so. BX takes the lead of the race on soft tyres. They're looking now to extend as much of a gap as he can get. Here's an electric start by tier 1. There has been talk that today might mark the first of the Race of Champions races not won by a tier 1 driver, but with this start I think your money is definitely on the tier 1 drivers now. Harvey up in the 4th as well, he got past Henners on that soft tyre. Here's those soft tyres are wearing a lot quicker. Supercracker's got a 3-second time penalty. I'm not entirely sure how he's managed to amass 3 seconds around this track, but he had done nonetheless, and now he's under fire from Zico as we head down toward the first of the corners, down the home straight here. Colin also under fire for 8th position. Zico going to the inside. He is on the hardest compound. The other two from tier 1 both started on the softest compound. Zico to the inside of turn 1. Looks like he got past Supercracker, and he has. Up in the 6th goes Zico. And all 3 of the tier 1 drivers are up into the top 6, and we barely even started this race. Just under a 1/6 of the way through, and all of the tier 1 have climbed at least half the grid. And there's a 2.5-second penalty in front of us there. So 3 seconds for Supercracker, 2.5 for Henners. That probably brings Polito into this. And you can see them in the background, the tier 2 champion fighting with a tier 3 white champion for 8th place. But yeah, and tier 3 blue, we have Ross and we have Henners, who were 1 and 2 in the championship. We've got a little bit of a fight here from Javi a little bit further in front. We aren't going to go there yet because Zico is right on the back of Henners and will make an overtake before Javi gets the chance to. Looks like, yep, that's the penalty kicking in, and goes Zico. Javi still hasn't got past CL. Colin and Polito both going by as well. 2 positions gained for both of those drivers. Supercrackers and actually Supercrackers being given up the place to Spin as well. Henners not so unfortunate. But yeah, so tier 3 blue we had Ross and we had Henners. Tier 3 white we have Colin Mason and we have Spin. Just continuing to go through at this point in time. But yeah, as we continue on, going through tier 4 blue, we have, I believe, Fracas and Orac. Yeah, it's Fracas and Orac that are showing from here. They were 3rd and 7th in their championship. Yes, the rest of the guys decided not to show up. And then we've got CL, who won tier 4 white, and Matthew, who came 2nd in tier 4 white, with then tier 5 being represented by both Lord Hands and Supercracker, who were second and third in their championship. Abby did not race. Has not raced so far. CL's got up in a second. Javi's there with Matthew as well. Matthew's trying to get himself back involved in this. Javi's trying to take second. CL doing a good job of holding him at bay for now. Is he going to be able to continue to do so? Javi's tyres are dropping off quite drastically there. You can see his tyres are basically non-existent on the back of his car, with Matthew trying to go around the outside, and they've come together. A little bit of contact. CL is still in front of Javi. And Matthew's going to try and round the outside of the Tier 1 driver. This would be impressive if he's going to be able to do that. No, Javi's into the pits. Javi not so good on his tyres. That's what we're finding out here. BX comfortably there with a lot of tyre on his Aston Martin. So a lot being worn in the background of the car for Javi in terms of his soft tyres. Now we've calmed down a little bit. I don't have to run through the grid. We can go back to fully watching the racing. CL still ahead of Matthew for now. The hard tyres on CL doing him a good service right now. The Tier 4 driver doing a very, very good job. He'll obviously be in at least Tier 3 next season after winning his tier. So we'll see what he's got in his future. But the guy he was directly fighting during the season is unbelievably the guy he's currently fighting in this race. So Matthew there in third. Both of the second and third drivers in this race are from Tier 4. And you got Zico and BX either side of them from tier 1. So that gives you the kind of idea of the potential disparity we kind of have in this race in terms of the different tiers, which makes it just makes Race of Champions such a good thing, a good spectacle. So you get all the different levels of guys in the same boat, in the same race. And we get to see whether or not Zico is going to get down the inside on Matthew here. And he is. He's up into third. Matthew couldn't hold him off. And I think Zico's gone a little bit deep there. He's gone a little bit wide, a little bit off the track. He also had a little bit of an unsettling moment there as well, which might open the door for Matthew. Zico has to realise that Matthew's gone to his inside. And he's got himself back in front. That moment there from Zico, he's lucky to got away without a penalty. It has cost him the place back to Matthew, who's going to go straight after CL without even trying. The dodge speed down the straight is an impressive feat, that's a certain. And it's going to allow for Matthew to jump in a second. It's going to make CL box in Zico. CL's going to box in Zico here. He could have been and should have been more aggressive with that CL. But Zico gets himself in front and back up in the third. CL loses out doubly there. And quite frankly, he should have been more aggressive. He had no reason to yield that to Zico. And I think that's probably the mindset Zico might be in as well. Wasn't expecting that to be so easy going into that chicane. This BX at a 7.5 second gap, by the way, guys. I think it might already be game. We'll wait and see as we go along. Obviously, the different strategies are going to come into play at some point. It got dark at Monza, but obviously it can't rain because GT has an adverse reaction when rain is brought up. So yeah, we won't be dealing with any sort of wets or intermediate tyres at any point. Matthew still trying to defend from Zico. Zico actually defending from CL, who's going to use Matthew potentially with a little bit of slipstream, but he overshot the corner, and any chance he had of making that work has just fallen by the wayside there. BX is now into the pits with a 7.5 second gap. So I assume, I'm interested to see where he comes out against someone like Javi right now, and the strategy he's going to elect to enforce here. He's come out with 45% fuel. CL's going straight after Zico, using Matthew for slipstream. The Tier 4 guys are working together effortlessly here against the Tier 1 champion. And this is what we love. This is what we love to see. These two have been racing each other hard all season. Now get to work together, be on the same page for a little while. And we've got Polito and Colin in the background here, and they're fighting their way into the first chicane. And Polito's going to get himself in front. So the Tier 1 champion, followed by the Tier 2 champion, followed by Tier 3 white champion in 3, 4, and 5 right now. Not entirely sure what is happening to the other Tier 3 champion, but, you know, Ross doing his best impression of trying sandbag so we don't actually pilot on him when he doesn't do well next season. But yeah, let's see what's going on here. CL's going right after Matthew. If they can build themselves a little bit of a gap here, they're definitely not going to be able to do it doing that. That's a certain. But it has given Matthew some breathing space. Now CL can use his straight line speed on that Citroen as a little bit of a boost here. Stop Zico overtaking. It might give Matthew a little bit of breathing room. It might give him enough to break a toe. We'll wait and see. There's a penalty in the background there. We'll wait and see who that's for. I think it might be for Polito. It is for Polito in the BMW in the background there. Which means he'll drop behind Colin next lap if Colin manages to stick with him. Still continuing on, down the back, down the home straight. Colin's right up the back of the M6. You've got Zico right up the back of the Citroen. A lot of fighting is about to unfold here, I think. Here comes Zico to the inside again on CL. We saw this a couple of laps ago. It was easy for Zico then. And again, Zico is boxed in. And this time, CL hasn't made it so easy for him. And this is exactly what he needed to do, because now Zico's going to yield to Polito, who's just stolen the position through the hole, or had done for a split second and has given it back. He wasn't able to hold it. It looked like a hole was opening up quite massively there. CL just putting Zico enough off of his game here to actually make this fight for the lead fairly interesting. Polito will drop off the back of this in a split second, and a half-second penalty will take him out of slipstream range altogether. But see, if Polito was the guy that if it wasn't going to be tier 1, that's probably your favourite in this race. I don't know how long that's going to continue. Polito's going to serve his penalty. Zico's right up on the back of the Citroen again, because the Citroen had a poor exit out of a Ascari chicane. And it looks like he's now going to pull to the inside. He's not going to let him have it this time. Zico to the inside, late on the brakes. And it looked like CL had to be extremely late on the brakes as well. And this will allow for Zico to go to the inside of both CL and Matthew and take the lead of the race. And it was about time. It was going to happen eventually. But it might have not lasted too long. Matthew's straight line speed and that dodge is exceptional. And he's got back in front of Zico. Matthew is doing everything in his power to hold Zico back here, and it's going to cost him against BX and Javi later on, because Zico's now dropped back to third with the Citroen straight line speed overtaking him. The GTR just not a straight line car by any means. In relevance to what's been put around him, Zico trying to get a little bit to the inside there, may have almost overshot that, and it looks like he has, because he got a little bit of gravel to kick up on the way through. Now he's got Polito chomping at the bits, who somehow didn't lose a position on his half-second penalty, and is still just trying to hang in there. At this point in time, Zico just dropping a little bit off the Citroen. The Citroen has actually given Matthew some breathing space. Matthew can get away here. If he can get himself outside of that a second, he might be able to bridge himself a gap. And the tier 4 drivers have worked together quite effortlessly here to put a stop to the tier 1 champion, quite frankly, and it's been quite effective up until then, because CL again, the tier 4 champion, having a poor exit out of Ascari, and is now going to suffer the fate that we expected him to suffer, surely, at the hands of the tier 1 champion Zico here. There is no way this DC hangs on. Or is he going to? He's still there on the outside. Zico's just not been able to get himself enough in front during the straight, and again, CL, the tier 4 champion, gets the better the tier 1 champion. This is quite impressive. On the same tyres as well, there is no advantage here. Polito is now driving. He's going to try and use Zico. He's going to bump Zico through. It's probably the smarter decision here, because Zico getting away would probably mean that he was able to get through as well. Is he going to get past CL? It's the tier 1, the tier 2, the tier 3, and the tier 4 champion all in a row. It looks like CL is going to have to relinquish position to both Zico and Polito, and the staunch defence that he was putting on for at least 7 or 8 laps there, the tier 1 champion, has come to an end. He'll take the moment though. That was as good of a defense as he could have got. Now he's got to defend against the tier 3 white champion. Nice little moment there. You can all have four of our highest champions put your picture together all in one picture. The only one missing is Ross. Let's have a look further down now then. So Matthew is now getting caught at rate and knots by Zico, which is not too surprising. CL has actually managed to hang himself right onto the back of Polito up until Ascari. And again, the poor Ascari, and now he's into 5th. That Ascari has come to bite him 3 times in a row now. And that will do it for you. He gets past by all the rest of the champions in this race. Anonymous and Spin right beside each other here. Not been great for the tier 2 driver or the tier 3 driver by any means, actually, in the start of this one. Matthew now into the pits off of his medium tyres, allowed Zico to take the lead of the race with some clear air. We'll see what Zico is able to do now. In comes Ciel as well, off of his hard tyres. Spin and Anonymous, both tier 3 and tier 4, tier 3, tier 2, sorry, both potentially tier 2 next either. We'll see if this is going to be a future fight on track. Right now, doesn't really look like there's going to be an awful lot that Spin can do here against that Genesis as we head down to the first chicane. I don't really think the M6 is going to be able to challenge that. Nope, Anonymous is going to hold that as easy as it gets for now. Then they got Henners and Super Cracker. I expected a little bit more from tier 3 in terms of tier 3 blue, especially Ross and Henners in this race. I expected a little bit more from them as we continue to go on, but they're being pegged back quite drastically right now. Ross is currently in 9th. Hasn't pitted off his medium tyres. Fracas hasn't pitted off his hard, so he's got BX directly behind him, 1.4. So BX ahead of Javi by 6 seconds. BX went on to hards. Javi went on to hards, which is interesting. They're both on the same strategy. Both tier 1 drivers have essentially agreed on the strategy here. BX fighting now. Well, not fighting realistically. Oh, Fracas had a bit of a mare there for Ascari, and that'll open up Ross. Is Ross going to get by? Ross is going to get by here against Fracas, who has a penalty helper action here down into Parabolica. Is Ross going to stay ahead? He moves over a little bit under braking just to get caught by Fracas, and then BX moves on the inside, and it's helper v helper v helper. And all 3 of them came together a little bit there. Someone got into the pits and ran out of fuel doing so. I think that was Super Cracker who just misjudged his fuel margin. Yeah, Ross came across under braking there, got clipped by Fracas, and then BX came through and pushed Fracas out the way as well. All 3 of them having a bit of contact in the Parabolica. I can understand if Fracas would be a little bit upset with that. But yeah, either way, they're going down into the first chicane and remain unchanged. BX has already done his pit stop and is quite a decent way ahead now of Javi, who is his actual current fight. So the more you can extend that, the better it is for BX at this point in time. Matthew 12 seconds off the back of Javi, which is interesting. I didn't think it would be that big of a gap between Matthew and CL and then Javi and company. That's quite the gap. I was thinking Matthew and CL were doing exceptionally well. Zico's still out on his hard tyres right now. Aurak in 15th, Pandan 14th, Supercracker in 13th, behind the 2 tier 4 drivers. There you got Javi. Fracas, who's now going to serve a penalty. BX has driven away from these 2. And then they got Ross there in 8th. We'll have enough of a gap now away from Fracas. Then you've got Polito and Colin who are coming into the pits. But anyway, either way, BX in 7th, Fenders in 6th, Spin still behind Anonymous because he just cannot shift him right now to try and get by. Zico still out on the hard tyres, 11 seconds clear of everyone else. But we know that from all the fighting with Matthew, that he's about 11 seconds off of Javi, never mind BX. So good luck from here on out if you are Zico trying to catch that gap up. Polito in the pits, he's going on to what I can only assume to be a medium tyre right now. Fracas is now 1.5 off the back of Ross. It is medium tyres for Polito with almost a full tank of fuel. It is medium tyres and a full tank of fuel for Colin, and both of them have jumped Matthew and CL. Wow, wasn't expecting that. One lap or two longer, and the overcut has worked here a little bit. Doesn't help that they, especially Matthew, had to shift onto a harder compounded tyre. CL needs to get past him as soon as he can get by. As soon as he can do this effectively, he needs to get by. He doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it. CL's just not going to be able to do it right now into the virtual ledge mode. Yes, I'm aware that is exactly what me just remembering what I actually called, what they're actually called. So it's 15 laps into this race. So CL just not really getting a good run at this against Matthew. The longer this goes, the more this is going to, bring back the Tier 4 drivers. But Zico now into the pits himself. Yeah, Zico is now into the pits. Let's see what else is going to happen. Spin into the pits, Ross into the pits. BX is obviously staying out. He's on hard tyres and made his first pit stop already. Anonymous and Henna staying out for a little while longer. Continue through. 4 second split, Henna and Anonymous. Then a further 4.5 back to BX. 5.1 the Fracas in 4th, who still has to make his first stop. 2.5 after that. So the gap probably about 7.5 seconds right now. 7.5 seconds right now between BX and Javi. I think it's probably a reasonable estimate of that gap. It's actually just shy of 8. But continuing on, Zico's 6 seconds behind Javi. And that's the interesting situation in all this. Javi and BX had to do their hard stint second, and they'll be on the mediums for the rest of the race. Zico has done his hard stint already. He's on mediums now, and then he'll go to the soft at the end. So if he can get himself, he's currently 14 seconds behind BX. I don't really think I had enough in these laps to proceed 14 seconds, but Zico's got a good chance of closing that gap quite considerably at this point in time. Polito 3 seconds off of the Tier 1 champion Colin after that. He's still Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 in an order at the middle of the grid right now. And it's into the pits. First time for him off of the hard tyres as we continue on to watch this race. Zico 5 seconds behind Javi now. He is coming down quite considerably as they come across. So BX is now 8.2 ahead of Javi. Zico 5.3. So he's cut that gap down quite considerably. There is still a chance here, realistically, for Zico, because he is closing about a second a lap right now. It is about 13, maybe just under 13.5 seconds. But it splits the 2. Split the 3 even for Tier 1. Yeah, continuing on, Colin went a little bit wide down in the Zico, Polito there, 3 seconds, that's just opening a little bit. Anonymous currently started on the hards, pitting at the end of the lap. He's definitely not in the race lead in terms of net race lead. He's just going to be dropping to probably around about where CL is, I reckon. There you go. Anonymous into the pits now. So BX will drive back into the lead of the race. 9 seconds clear of Javi right now. So Javi on those hard tyres is struggling. Those tyres are significantly more worn. That's probably why Zico behind there on the mediums has got to pick up this pace. He has got to pick up this pace. The longer we go, the more this is just handing BX everything that he could have wanted tonight. Obviously, Zico's the only one with the soft tires left to run at the end of this one. We're going to be on mediums for a decent chunk of this race. Javi's been on hards for a decent while now. Might even still be a 3-stop. Obviously, you have to use all 3 tires for at least 1 lap. They all have to be used, and there is no rain, so there's no exception to that rule this time. Good evening, Jim. Zico is very clearly catching Javi, but the problem for Zico is that catching Javi is not really catching BX. And that's obviously the target, I think, for Zico right now. Bear in mind, 1, 2, 3 in this race are currently, well, were this season's Tier 1 drivers. Zico's the current champion of Tier 1, so essentially the highest man in the entire server right now, after winning the biggest prize that we have available in terms of the Monday series. You know, have BX also essentially sealed his journey here at Le Mans last Monday. He's doing an exceptional job of piling on that momentum right now, because all this is going to take is Zico, well, BX getting a decent car, and that momentum going into next season might make him rather unstoppable. A BX that doesn't make mistakes, and a BX that has a lot of momentum and pace about him is a scary BX. I'll say that much. He almost makes a mistake as soon as I say it. He did! He did make a mistake. He caught the chicane. He got 2.5 seconds. He got 2.5 seconds, and now this gets a little bit more interesting. You know, GT, that 2.5 seconds isn't actually 2.5 seconds. It's more towards about the 4-second mark. All of a sudden, that 10-second gap will probably just under half, and Zico will get brought into, potentially, a fight for the win. Let's see if anything's going to happen here. Polito dropping off the back of Zico. Colin got 2.5 as well. Must have made the same mistake as to what BX did. And you've got, I think there's a guy, I don't know who that is back there. It's the spin with 2 seconds as well. Matthew dropping far back. And CL making a mess of Ascari again. If he could get Ascari right, he'd be a force, but he really, really is struggling to do so right now. It's about 6.5 now between BX and Javi, which brings the gap from what was 12, 13 seconds down to 7 to Zico in 3rd. Bear in mind, Zico has softs to run at the end of this. The other 2 drivers have mediums to run after their hard stint. This is definitely not out of the realms of possibilities by any means for Zico. The 14 seconds looked insurmountable, but 7, I don't think that is. About 16 to go. Continue on. Yeah, Zico about half second now behind Javi. He's going to get him, maybe not this corner, but it through into Parabolic. He should have a really good run. Maybe not into Ascari, but out of Ascari. A real good shout here for Zico. Continue on. Javi getting a little bit wide there in Ascari. That'll open the door. It will definitely open the door. Zico will say thank you very much. There's not even attempt to fight that. The bad exit out of Ascari for Javi just launched Zico through, and now Zico has a clear shot. He can now just drive and try and charge down at 6.5 seconds. He's on the fresher tyre the entire way now. 6.5 seconds is not that big of a gap for the Tier 1 champion, that's a certain. Polito in the background there. A good drive from Polito here. Tier 2 champion right now. Isn't too far off the course for Tier 1. It will obviously be going there next season. Because that's the rule on Monday. If you win the tier that you were in the season prior, you are automatically promoted. You don't get to argue with it. You just have to put up with it for a season. In the higher tier, you have to be able to show what you are capable of, and that'll be Polito's position next season. In Tier 1, champion of Tier 2. BX, Zico, Javi, all named again. You'll probably see during next season. Javi not so much as either reserve, but the other two, I believe, are still driving and will probably be fighting for these positions again next season. Colin, also a champion, Tier 3 white. He'll be moving up into Tier 2 by default next season as a result. I'm very interested to see what he can prove, because he was maybe not the quickest all season in Tier 3, but he was a pillar of consistency in Tier 3, and that is usually a good sign moving up the tiers. You can have the 1 lap pace all you want, but if you don't have the consistency, you start spinning out through the races, you're not going to get very far. We got Basiel again, just having a mare. Just having another mare for Ascari. And it's been his Achilles heel all night. He could have done a lot better tonight. Tier 4, he's done a very good job in its own right, but quite frankly, that Achilles heel has been a glaring weak spot over the course of the first 21 laps of this race. Might put him under threat from this BMW later on into the night. Matthew there ahead of Anonymous. Those two dropped off just a considerable margin right now. Matthew and Ciel were doing exceptional work to hold Zico back earlier. Didn't really last. They went on to different tyres and couldn't really do much of anything about it. It looks like there's a penalty here. Javi's got 2 seconds. Javi's got 2 seconds, so Javi's going to be under fire here from Polito. Javi coming into the pits in the end of the lap as well, getting off of those hard tyres. They look very worn now. It'll be mediums to the end for him. Anonymous has moved up a place. He's got past Matthew now, out of the into the first of the Lesmos, and out of the second. That Dodge speed is not really going to be too much different to the Genesis speed there, so I don't really see Matthew getting a lot out of this. There's a fight going on between Ross and Henna's there for 10th. The Tier 3 blue drivers in this race have not been, it's just not been a good showing for them in any way, shape or form. They should be doing better. Put it into perspective when you fight, where you put a look to where Colin is, who was the champion on the opposite half of Tier 3. The Ross and Henna should be doing better. Matthew not really able to keep up with Anonymous. BX is now into the pits. Javi into the pits as well. So Zico now takes the lead of the race. Well, for the moment. Ciel's come off of the medium tyres as well. He's in pits with 17% left of fuel, which is an interesting choice. Colin, Spin, Anonymous all staying out a little bit longer. Doesn't look like an awful lot is happening toward the front. Zico's got to use this clean air now. While he had this clean air, he's got to go after BX. I know BX has got clean air in his own right, but he has got to go after BX as much as he can. Try and limit what that gap is going to get to. If he can keep it within maybe 7 or 8 seconds here, then Zico should, toward the end of this race, have a real chance at having a real good go for the win at the end of this. Fracas in 8th, 6 seconds ahead of Javi. Fracas still has to pit off the medium tyres at some point. Javi's on to the end now. Ciel in 10th to the end as well. Only 3 seconds behind Javi. I don't think he's given up hope yet. Javi's got another penalty. There's another second there for Javi. Ciel hasn't quite given hope of beating a Tier 1 driver, I don't think. Actually, Ciel may have used multiple sets of the medium tyres here. Not entirely sure what he did. He came off one set of mediums onto another set of mediums, so that's not good news to Ciel actually, because that means he's still got another pit stop. Yeah, he's still got another pit stop. He's got to use half tyres at the end of this. He started on the hards. He's still got to go onto the soft. So Ciel's got another pit stop. Havik doesn't. I'm just trying to figure out what else is going on. Softs are Matthew, so I can only assume that's 2 sets of softs going on his car to the end. Orak is on medium tyres still. Ross on medium tyres. I think that might be to the end as well. Super Cracker and 14th and Tier 5 are tailed off at the back. Zico actually being relatively caught right now by the Tier 2 champion, Polito, who's going to have a good shot next season. Maybe not to win the title, but I do fancy Polito at the very least to stay in the tier. Would be very surprised if Polito wouldn't actually... If Polito stayed in Tier 1, gave a couple of guys a run for their money, then the penalty up ahead. 3.5? What the hell did you do, Zico? 3.5 seconds, and that might be the dagger. That might be the dagger, and BX may have just won this race off of that penalty alone. That is a bad time to get that penalty. I think he might actually drop behind Polito with that level of penalty, you know? He won't drop behind Colin, but the Tier 1 champion might be dropping behind the Tier 2 champion. What a scalp that would be. Polito might be about to knock off 2 Tier 1 drivers tonight. Spinning now off of the soft tyres. Catastrophic time to get a penalty, quite frankly. Looks like, yeah, just keeping it together. BX needs to level this out now. BX will need a penalty of his own right. Given the fact that BX already had the first one, he had 2.5. Now Zico's got 3.5. It is not good news right now for the leader of the race. Lord Hand is about to be lapped. Is the first of the blue flags, but Zico won't be too long. Actually, it's still quite a way before his penalty, but he will obviously won't be able to overtake him. With that 3.5 second time penalty, he's about to serve. Went a little bit wider to Sky for good measure. There you go. There's the 3.5 seconds. Start to kick in. Will Polito get by? I think he is just starting to accelerate back up now. In comes the M6. You're going to be able to... They're going to meet each other at the corner. They're going to meet each other around Parabolica. A lot more speed in the M6, but it doesn't really matter because the outside isn't going to be able to do an awful lot. Polito ever so slightly ahead of the GTR right now. 300ths of a second. Just ahead, then Zico's going to pull him behind as they head toward turn 1. Zico... Yeah, that penalty is catastrophic. Now he's got to overtake Polito again. He's losing more time. As they continue to go along, back toward turn 1. And Zico has a good shot here. A nice little launch. Polito has to drop back inside, and Zico avoiding catastrophic losses of time. But Polito's going to go to the inside here. Polito might get him. Polito will get him with an inside lunge. And a nice little move on the Tier 1 champion. The Tier 2 champion putting on a display there. Overtaking Masterclass down into the first of the chicanes. And again, Zico, it looks a little bit rattled. Looks a little bit rattled after that 3.5 second time penalty. BX currently 28 seconds off the lead. I'm not sure the tire that Polito has to go onto. We know that Zico has softs. Zico has softs to go onto. I'm not entirely sure what the compound of the tires that are going on. The M6 currently in the lead of this race. We will see. Not entirely sure what Zico's got up his sleeve now, because he is not doing an awful lot to mitigate this this time loss. You're calling the tier 3 champion in third right now. So 1, 2, 3. Obviously, strategy still has to go for the rest of this race. But 1, 2, 3 are currently tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 champions, not in that order. We will see. I'm intrigued now. I am very intrigued at what is about to happen for Polito and for Zico. Zico's got a purple first sector. Lord Hans has finally got out of the way. And now these two are going to fight their way through the Lesmos. And we're just getting good here between these two. BX is still the comfortable race leader. But these two are going to fight all the way down to Ascari. There's no real stopping the fight here. Zico's going to have to look to pull the inside unless he waits for Parabolica, which is probably more sensible from a survival point of view. Still purple as they continue on, now through Ascari. A little bit dirtier for the green and black GTR there, who's got a better exit by quite some distance than the M6 out of Ascari. The slipstream down towards Parabolica. Polito trying to defend. We'll see this battle a lot next season. And Polito is going to win it for a little while longer. Zico going to have to settle in just a little bit more. His purple lap is going to be diminished by the fact that Polito there has just been in his way. Yeah, literally a half second there in the final sector on its own. Polito is proving a roadblock right now for the tier 1 champion. There is not really a lot he's going to be able to do about it either. Here we go, down towards turn 1, the inside line. Should be able to take the lead back off Polito. A lot more speed as well. But Polito, we saw this happen on the last lap where Polito just dove the inside of this chicane. And he's going to do the same again. He's going to do it again. This time side by side. I think he's pushed him off the track a little bit this time though. No space given, but Zico will hold the lead. Zico will continue to hold the lead. The space was not given. I think Polito realised that. And backed out. It gives Colin a little bit of a lifeline back into this, I think. Gets him a little bit closer. BX currently 26 off the lead. Brought that in 1.7 seconds. Since the last time we saw it. 8 laps left to go. I'd be very surprised if we don't see soft tyres going on Zico and Polito at this point in time. Henna's in 6th. He's starting to put a little bit more in, but he's still got a pit stop to go in this race. Same for Fracas. Then CL, I believe has one as well. Javi is in 10th right now. So Matthew and CL have both got by at this point in time. So the tier 4 drivers are getting past the tier 1, but I think they both still have to pit. Yeah, they both will still have to pit in this race. Javi. And well, there goes Polito and Zico. It's calling for it. And in comes Colin as well. Zico's got the most fuel. It looks like Zico had the better tyres of the 3 as well. Going into the pit stop. Let's see. This is the big one. This is the big one now. So BX is coming around Parabolic. He will enter the lead of the race. Well, net lead of the race, because Anonymous won't come in for another couple of laps. The real question is by how much? Zico might already be heading out. Zico might be out in front. Oh, this is going to be very close. Zico is right there. So is Henna's. Zico needs to stay on that opposite side of the white line. Doesn't cross it. Doesn't get the 3 seconds. Comes out right behind Henna's and did what? 2 seconds behind BX. And this just got very close. Polito is there and thereabouts as well. This ain't over for him either. All of a sudden, we might have a 3-way fight for the race. Was not expecting that. Colin's done a good job behind as well, to be completely honest with you. I was not expecting this to be so close. Strategy is absolutely... Oh, that's a penalty! That's a 2-second time penalty! BX has just thrown away the lead. BX has just thrown away the lead. It doesn't even matter about the Zico's penalty now. BX has got another. And that's Zico behind him. 1.5. And the leader of the race is going to change for the first time in a long time. There goes the Tier 1 champion through on BX Royal. As Zico takes the lead of the race. And the Tier 2 champion isn't out of it either. Here comes Polito, who needs to get himself past BX now. Looking for it. Still there. Still in the slipstream. He's the green and black in front of him. He needs to get by because Zico can't afford, well, if you're Zico, you're loving this, but for anyone else in this race, you can't afford for the Tier 1 driver, the Tier 1 champion, to drive off into the distance because that will end badly. Polito round the outside, doesn't even wait to turn one, gets it done at the end of the straight, gets himself in front of BX. And now we have a actually interesting battle for the lead because Polito is closing it. It's less than 2 seconds. Polito has a chance. Polito has a chance to write something that has never been done in this server. A tier one driver has never lost. Well, Tier 1 itself and its drivers have never lost a race of champions. Polito stands in the way of that. There is a gigantic opportunity if he wants to take it to write himself into this server permanently. This could be massive. Not only for him, not only for Tier 2's representation in these kind of races, but also for his momentum next season. If he can knock off the Tier 1 champion today, if you can't take confidence from doing that, then you are doing this wrong. I don't really know where you'd get the confidence if you can't. This would be massive. He's got about 6 laps to do it. He is closing that gap lap on lap. 9/10 purple. 9/10 purple, the first of the 39s all day. Zico 1.4 up. Polito in second. The Tier 1 champion versus the Tier 2 champion. BX got himself a 2-second time penalty. That made him fall all the way. He's in third right now. He might be under fire from the Tier 3 champion sooner rather than later. But, oh my god, we might have a massive grandstand finish to the race of champions. If Polito can deliver. Zico gains a couple of tenths through the first of the chicanes here at Monza. Now we go to the Lesmos. Polito needs to start clawing that time back just a little by little. Anonymous up in the 5th, so Anonymous got his strategy right as well. Brought him from 9th to 5th, a good race for him. Representing Tier 2 fairly well today, Anonymous and Polito, that's a certain. CL in 6th did a great run for him. I think he still had to pit, but it's a great run for him nonetheless. Javi in 7th, the worst of the Tier 1s tonight. Henner's in 8th, Spin in 9th, Frackers in 10th, Ross in 11th, Matthew in 12th, Supercrack in 13th, Orak in 14th, and Lord Hans in 15th. This is not over. Not by a long shot. There is a chance to do the unthinkable. Zico 1.3. Polito had a grandstand like that last lap to get him 9/10 quicker than the fastest. Zico, again, just losing a little bit through Parabolica. The corners are going the M6's way. 39.5 compared to 39.7. These two just stepping it up just that extra step. That extra notch that they needed to find to get themselves to the front in the first place. And now it's 1.1, 1.0 on the clock. CL has gone into the pits, so the Tier 4 driver into the pits now to serve his final stop of the race, and it's within a second. It is within a second. Glory cannot wait here for Polito if he can do it. The Italian running after the Tier 1 champion. He gains, well, he loses another 3/10 of a second there through the first of the chicane, and it's his massive, massive Achilles heel so far in this fight. He seems to gain it back the rest of the lap, not through the first or the second of those Lesmos though. That was not perfect driving by Polito by any means, but he has cut it from 1.4 back to 1.2. The gap continues to shut down. If he can get a sky right, he should be in slipstream by the time we hit Parabolica. 1.1, 1.14. Zico gets himself a little bit nicer on the turning. Polito needs to find a good exit. It's not a good exit. It's not at all a good exit. It's a bad, it's an atrocious Ascari for Polito. And it hands 3/10 of a second back to Zico. 4/10 of a second back to Zico. And we're back where we started. Polito just getting it wrong. And maybe the pressure being a little bit too much. Zico's starting to drive away now. And it's that composure, the Tier 1 champion, that's just going to keep him in this. Just going to keep him over the line as it stands. Polito's given him as good as he's got, though, for a Tier 2 champion to be this close. And not very often we say that. Javi up in a 6th. Still being beat by both Tier 3 Colin and Tier 2 Anonymous as well. 1.6 now for the lead. 1.3 behind BX, between BX and Colin. There might be a podium here for a Tier 3 driver. BX again, just a little bit all over the place. Colin is closing that gap in. There might be, I wonder if somebody had that little bit of history for me. How many times that a 1, 2, 3 has been 3 different tiers in a race of champions? I don't think that's happened very often. It's a very real possibility right now. BX is all over the place against Colin in 4th, but as it stands, Zico 1.7 ahead of Polito in 2nd, who's 3.5 clear of BX, who's really under 5 by Colin in 4th now. Anonymous in 5th, Javi in 6th, Henna's in 6th, and he's in no man's land. Spin in 8th, 2.3 up on Frackers in 9th, then Ross is in 10th, right ahead of CL, who's on fresher tyres, should get Ross. Quite honestly, could have it into Scar if he really wanted it. If not, you should get him into Parabolica. And then Matthew in 12th, Orak in 13th, Lord Hands in 14th, and 15th for Supercrackers Tier 5 has definitely dropped to the back. 1.6 now between Zico and Polito, and that gap isn't shrinking. That gap, however, is... Here we go, McLaren in the straight line against the Aston Martin. It looks like Colin is going to have him. It looks like Colin for Tier 3 is going into 3rd on the podium right now in this race, and BX drops another. That 2-second time penalty was massive. Absolutely massive in his race. He had 4.5 seconds worth of penalties during the entire thing. Colin gave him far too much space there. Far too much space for a Tier 1 driver to work with. Should not have done that. BX is just trying to hang himself into the first leg though. He's gone wide. Colin is still there. Better exit should have enabled him to stay in front. Wasn't that good. We go into the second allotment. Now BX just closes that door, and Colin now needs to find the ability to go again. There's Anonymous in 5th, just peers into the background of your shot. Polito up 5.5 seconds now. Gained 2 seconds in the last lap or so with the fighting from BX and Colin. It's 2.1 now between Zico and Polito, and the dream is fading. The dream is fading, and we are going to run straight into another Tier 1 win here, Race of Champions. And it's the one you would have expected at the beginning of the day. There is a reason he wins Tier 1 this season. The Tier 1 champion just extending, just doing enough. Got himself over the line, as it stands anyway, with a couple of laps left to go. He is being put under some immense pressure today, though, by Polito, and it's as good as Polito could have given him. I think Polito won't be too far out of place next season. Here we go, BX defending again from Colin. Colin got him like this to place on the last lap, but they got fought back immediately. He got him into turn 1 again. Will BX be able to fight him back into the first of the chicanes, into turn 2? It does not look like it this time. It looks like Colin got daylight. And Colin had got daylight. No need to cut it this time. He should be cutting the chicane a little bit more than that, though, as BX gets a little bit out of sorts on the exit of the first chicane there, and Colin had enough right now to be in front. onto the bottom step of the podium, but again, he's been pegged back. BX is not letting this go without a fight at all. Zico was held up quite drastically by Tier 4 earlier as well. Got himself a 3.5 second penalty at the worst possible time when he finally got clean air. A lot that went into this race, and now we're getting side-by-side action between Colin and BX here. And Colin just about doing enough again to hang BX out to dry. Doing just about enough again. BX to the inside. Is he going to be able to get Colin this time? It looks like it. It looks like it. Colin's going to have a switchback attempt at this. This could be magnificent if he holds this on the inside of Parabolica. That would be impressive. I don't think he got the exit to do so, though. The exit speed just scrubbed off a little bit in the in Parabolica there, on the switchback. But Colin's back in front. Colin is back in front of BX again. Needs to get himself some daylight. BX is just doing enough to try and fight himself for bottom step of the podium here on lap 36 of 36. Colin should defend to the inside of the chicane. He has no choice. If he wants this place against BX, he has to do it now. This is his best opportunity. It's his only opportunity, realistically, and he might... No, he's not going to get it. He's not going to get it. BX is just going to have it. Colin's tired on the rears and not going to be able to get him. And it's just out of time for Colin here. I don't know whether or not there's enough left in that car to fight back one more time. I think he might have just run out of gas. Not literally, but oh, BX a little bit slide there out of the second and the leads mode. That might open a door if he can go into Ascari. If I'm Colin Mason, I'm trying to follow Parabolica rather than Ascari. But you beggars can't be choosers at this point. You get to do it when you get to do it, if you can do it at all. You go round the final corners. I would have thought that might have been Zico for a split second. It's not. The guy in fifth deep. BX just holding off from Colin now. Polito's got a second time penalty. But Zico, the Tier 1 champion, holding his composure under heavy duress the entire time. Held by Tier 4, held by Tier 2, but undefeatable in the end. And the Tier 1 champion will win the race of champions. Zico from Polito. Then it's BX who just about does enough with Anonyma beating out Colin in the end. BX gets the bottom step. Anonyma gets fourth. Colin just ran out of everything and ran out of steam right at the end, and then gets him fifth for Tier 3. Javi in sixth, the complete non-factor for this entire race, which is unusual for Javi. Henna's in seventh right now, has done a decent job in showing up here for Tier 3 Blue. Beat his counterpart quite significantly in the end. Not entirely sure what happened to Colin. Fracas gets 8th, Spin gets 9th. It's a decent show for Fracas, honestly. Matthew up into 10th. Matthew might beat his Tier 4 counterpart. He might have done it. He didn't beat him in the season, but he will get a little bit of revenge as he beats him in the Race of Champions by a split second. CL gets 11th. Ross with a rather poor showing against 12th. Arak is currently in 13th. And then you got Supercracker and Lord Hands in Tier 5 just didn't really have the mic to stand up. Didn't really have the mic to stand up in the end. Outfought and outclassed at every corner. And the Tier 1 champion, the favourite going in, is the favourite coming out, because he is the winner of this race at Monza. Oraka over in 13th. Supercracker is going at literally a snail's pace. Lord Hands gets by. I don't even know if they're going to try and do a different kind of ending. It looked like they tried to do a Ferrari ending there. Lord Hands beating Supercracker in the end. What a race that was. What a race that was. And that is how we end. That is how we end things. Time with 1 hour, 1 minute, 58 seconds. Zico wins the entire Race of Champions. Polito gets himself in second. BX in third, round out the podium in Tier 1. In decent control. It wasn't all as smooth sailing as it looked like it was going to be, though. And I can safely say I think Polito might be in the right place next season. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I certainly did. I will see you guys next time. In a bit.